I can't believe that we are so close to the end of the year and we are approaching the holidays. And I wanted to end this year with a live event, just sharing some of the things that I do to plan for a healthy holiday. Because these times are normally really busy. They're filled with lots of wonderful time to catch up with family and friends, which is really important. But in the past, before I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, we used to eat a lot of food that would make us feel absolutely horrible. We'd gain 5 or 10 pounds over the holidays. And then, of course, in the new year, we'd always start off with, all these New Year's resolutions with our diet, etc. So we don't have to do that, especially if we suffer with chronic disease. When we have chronic disease, we really cannot afford to go backwards, right? We don't want to suffer any more than we're suffering. And we don't have to. We can go through the holidays. We can have an amazing time. We can eat really tasty food that makes us feel satisfied. And then we can just start the new year actually feeling better than before we started the holidays. So, what I'm going to share with you are some tips that I have used over the years and recipe ideas because we have a large family. I don't know if you guys have large family and friends. I love having people over. It brings me so much joy to see our family getting together. Like a lot of people live out of town in different places, and for us all to get together, and food is always the center. Food and drinks are always the center. So if we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha and I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. And I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 30 years ago, and I learned very early on that the MS is caused by parasites, by infections in the body. And if you haven't followed me or watched any of my events or trainings, then make sure to go to Live Disease Free YouTube channel when we're done. And I've got a playlist of the infections, I've got a playlist of the diet, etc. And start to learn what could be causing your horrible symptoms. So we're going to talk about how to get through the holidays without aggravating those infections, without making them like when you binge, they binge with you. But we can eat certain foods that taste really awesome but are not going to feed those infections. So we end up actually, we can have less inflammation, especially if we weren't eating this way before. When we start to eat this way, we can start to see the inflammation going down. We can start to see symptoms improving. We can have fun with our loved ones, but then start off the new year on a really good in a good place. So some of the tips that I just wanted to share first, and then I'm going to go into what I have for appies and for drinks and for different meal ideas. And then you guys can ask questions, or if you have any like suggestions, that things that you may think that might be okay, you can ask me and I'll let you know what I think. Very often we can take recipes that we love and we can make little modifications, and then we can still enjoy those flavors but not just kind of remove the problem ingredients that could actually feed the infections. So we have had, again, this has been year number 2 now for dealing with, or almost 2 full years of dealing with these viruses, the COVID virus, and also dealing with different variants that are coming along. And we're not going to talk about that. We're going to just stick to diet and what we can do through the holidays to have an amazing holiday. But we have had a lot of challenges and we've had a lot of stress. And so this way of eating also, and the planning for the holidays, because it can be quite stressful. So we can do things to make it so that the holidays are not stressful. So what I would really encourage you to do is, number one, that there are people in your life that you love tremendously and you may not have talked to them or communicated with them for a while because of the situation, because of the craziness of everything that's going on. Make sure to make a list of people that you want to reach out to. And even if it's a phone call, or maybe they're in town and maybe you guys can get together, but that's really important to stay connected with people. I think that's been a real problem over the past almost 2 years, is that, we've turned to Zoom, we've turned to the internet and to the social, like what we're doing right now. And we're really lacking that human connection. So make a point to have human connection over the holidays. Very, very important. And simplify. That's my biggest vice is I always make things, I always pack a lot in because I love life, and I'm so, when you get your life back and you have the second chance to live, you really want to live it the most. And so I always tend to take on too much. So this is where I'm always looking at how can I simplify my life? And obviously, with what's been going on in the world, we have been forced to simplify things a little bit, but really focus on that. And I think that a big part of it is not just simplifying, but it's planning. If you plan ahead who you're going to see, what you're going to do, what events you're going to take part in, and just space them out so that you don't burn out over the holidays. Really, really important. So be intentional with where you're going to spend your time, who you're going to see, and what you're going to do over the holidays. Sleep is so important. So those of us that are dealing with chronic disease, we very often have a hard time falling asleep, and then when we do, we might wake up several times throughout the night. That is very common when we have these parasitic infestations. They're very active at night. And so in what I've shared is that, use a sleep aid if you need to, but make sure you don't stay up really, really late. I don't anymore. Like when I was young, like in, early 20s, etc., late teens, early 20s, before children, we would sit up late on Christmas Eve and, have drinks and eat, and then you're just wasted the next day. So what I do is, like, I have children that are adults and they might stay up later, but I basically leave at about 10 o'clock. So that's a little later than normal to go to bed for me, but just leaving at 10. But pick a time that works for you and make sure that you don't compromise your sleep, because when we're sleep deprived, then our immune system is weaker and the infections are more active. So, with our students, the wellness champions, when they're recovering from MS and other diseases, we really work on sleep, making sure that they're working at getting 8 hours of sleep per night. And sometimes they have to use sleep aids for that. But it's so important to maintain the health you have right now. You don't want to start the new year with an attack, with an MS attack, with a flare of whatever condition you have, arthritic flare, diabetes issues, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to make sure that sleep is really, really important. It is, I would say it's up there with diet for sure. And if you think about sleep as a bank account, so if you didn't get enough sleep for whatever reason, maybe you just had a hard time sleeping, then make sure you catch up. So make sure that if you didn't get 8 hours of sleep, then you are really focusing and working. And I think I've shared lots of different things. A lot of our students find, again, check with your doctor. This is only for educational purposes. If you're on medications, you have to check. But if you can tolerate a regular strength antihistamine, the drowsy, the first generation type like Benadryl, that would be the active ingredient in a over-the-counter sleep aid like Nitol. And if you buy Benadryl, it's just cheaper. So something like that can really help a lot of people. But we don't just rely on it. We definitely work on treating the cause of our insomnia, which are these infections, but it helps us. Sometimes people, if you find that too much, melatonin is great, valerian tincture. There's also these Highland Calm pills, which is a homeopathic, has a little bit of minerals, etc. There's a lot of different blends you can get in the health food stores that might contain valerian, melatonin, passion flower, etc. That can help. But diet will really help also. If you're not feeding those infections, if they're not as active, you will sleep better for sure. And then also just going to bed at a regular time. And what I do in during the holiday season, what's really important for you if you are not well yet, because like for myself, it's been so many years that I've been living like this that there some, like when we get together, because we have a very large family, very often we'll do a potluck. We used to cook meals, but now we just do a potluck because there's 6 kids in my family and I'm the oldest and so each of them are married and they've got kids and they've got grandkids. So we do potlucks, and of course there will be desserts and different things that I won't eat. And I have no issue. Like I can watch my siblings eat that and absolutely completely free of the cravings, the desire for it. I actually look at it and I think it doesn't even look that good, honestly. So you will get past that. But until you do, what you can do is just If you're invited to events, like if you're invited to like a social event, make sure you eat before you go so that you're full and you're satisfied. And then if there are things like there's appies that you can't eat, it's no big deal. You have your drink, and we'll talk about drinks in a minute, but you're not going to feel, oh my gosh, I'm starving to death. I've got to eat something and I'm just going to eat this and I know I'm going to pay for it later. It's not worth it. So eat before you go. Very often they do have things like veggies and that you can just kind of snack on. And what I do is I focus on relationships. I focus on engaging with people, finding out how they're doing, what they've been up to, connecting with people, and take your focus off of food and put it on relationships. That will give you so much more joy in your life anyhow, because the food, the bad food, it tastes great on your tongue, but the minute you swallow it, that wonderful feeling is gone, and then you pay the price, and it's not worth paying the price. So focus on relationships, eat ahead if you're invited to places. If you do have, like, because a lot of people that listen to my videos, my trainings, if you do have a condition like a neurological condition, disease, or other autoimmune disease, let the hosts know. Let them know that you have dietary restrictions, and people are really, really accommodating. They don't want you to feel sick. So just let them know, I can't eat these. And what I do a lot of times is I am the veggie lady. So I'll bring the salad. I'll bring a really big, beautiful salad. I'll make some dressing for them. I like to have fresh lemon or lime and olive oil on my salad. But you can cut the vegetables a little bit differently to make it more interesting and festive. And you could add in theirs, you could add pomegranate seeds or a couple of berries on top, and that makes it look nice. The cucumbers, you can cut at a different angle. So you can make the salads look really great. You can have a nice vinaigrette for them, and then you can just have apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, lime for yourself. Just have it separate. So I will often bring a dish or two so that I know, like, if they're having meat, then I can usually have that because they know my dietary restrictions. So if they'll do any kind of meats, they'll make sure that sugary sauces are not on that for me. And then very often, if they know my dietary restrictions, they might just do some other vegetables that I can have too, but I don't ask them to. It's just people want to make you happy, right? So you just have to let them know. And it's very simple. Just say it's really easy. I can have any kind of meat, just no sauces and no cheese. Like the oils, butter, herbs are fine. Salt and pepper, garlic, all of that is great. And the vegetables, just again, no sugary things, no dairy, no any of those kind of things, saucy things. But as far as the healthy fats and the spices and herbs and the meats and the vegetables, and they go, oh, well, that's easy. A lot of restaurants are accommodating now too. A lot of restaurants, when I used to go to workshops before this stupid virus, because I can't travel right now, but before, going to restaurants was really easy. You can always get some kind of grilled meat, and then they always have salads, and you can just ask for olive oil and lemon on the side. And then you can just also get whatever vegetables they have. They usually have some kind of house vegetables, whether it's asparagus or broccoli, or maybe they'll do zucchini and onions, etc. So it's pretty easy to get vegetables and a salad and some type of meat. And with a steak, for example, a lot of times I say, a little dollop of butter on top would be great. And that just gives it extra flavor. Just make sure to get enough olive oil, so that, because it's the healthy fat that's going to give you the energy. When you eat this way, it tastes so good, and you will feel like you don't get stomach aches, you don't feel bloated, you don't feel nauseous, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to go sleep, like a coma kind of thing. You have energy. You don't have the ups and downs with no energy. And then stay active during the holidays. Make sure that you plan some time to even just go for walks. Some of us are disabled. Whatever you can do to stretch, to stay active, and enjoy nature if you can, that's always incredibly therapeutic. And then don't forget to nurture your soul. So, for a lot of us, this is a very special time. Some of us are celebrating Christmas, and we have all kinds of different beliefs and faiths, but whatever it is that you believe in, take time to nurture your soul, to spend time, because especially in this day that we're living, there's so much stress around us. We're in Canada, and we have a lot of stress, and our beautiful wellness champions and people we know in Australia, etc., and different countries, it's brutal. So the only thing that I find is meditation, prayer, that really, and my closeness to God is really what keeps my peace, because I believe He's in control, and He's got my back, and I just need to make sure I stay close to Him. So that's really important. And then supplements, like we're going for, some people in Australia, New Zealand, you're going into the spring and summer, and we're into the fall and into the winter now. So make sure that you have basic supplements for the virus season. So doctors recommend vitamin D3, especially if you're not getting a lot of sunshine. Depending where you live, where we live, we don't get a lot of sunshine. So vitamin D3. And then for the viruses, quercetin, Quer, quercetin, and what it helps to do is bring zinc into the cell, and then zinc decreases viral replication because we are in virus season, right? And whether we get the flu, whether we get a different variant of COVID, whatever, these are really important to help us through this time. So I don't take quercetin out. I take zinc when I think about it a little bit. But if you are, let's say there's a lot of people that are sick around you with whatever virus, you might want to consider taking some zinc, quercetin, of course, vitamin D3, and vitamin C, and also NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine. But honestly, most of the time, I just take a multivitamin mineral from plants to fill the gaps of what's missing from my diet. Because I live in Canada and I'm really relying on produce that's coming from all over the world, which is quite deficient in nutrients. So I end up having to supplement to make sure that I get enough the vitamins. So I take a multivitamin mineral. Perfect. I take a multivitamin mineral and maybe some extra calcium because our food is really deficient in calcium. And I think that's about it. Some vitamin D3, obviously, and sometimes cod liver, but haven't been taking it recently. So I don't take a lot of supplements. And our students, when they join the academy and they start to research, like they share with me what they're taking. A lot of times they're able to simplify things a lot, because if we have a lot of these infections, we're dealing with chronic disease, and we start to take high doses, especially of synthetic, we actually can feed the problem. So that's a really important thing also. I think that those are basically the important things I wanted to share as far as the big picture tips. But let's go into the food, what we're going to eat over the holidays, what we're going to drink. So with drinks, it's a very different time today than it was when I was first diagnosed. We have a lot more options. So back in the day, I used to really enjoy San Pellegrino unflavored sparkling water or Perrier. And I would add fresh lemon and fresh lime, and it's so bubbly and so fresh tasting. Now we have all these different flavored waters. I can't even keep up with them. So just make sure that the flavored water that you have is it can have flavor, but it doesn't have a sweetener. I would still avoid xylitol. I would avoid all the alcohol sugars. I would just have the essence. So there is LaCroix, and there's also bubbly, but there's a lot of other companies too. And you can get anything. You can get blackberry, you can get cherry, you can get orange flavor, and they really taste lovely. And if you want to spice it up a little bit more, you could add a little bit of lemon or lime to it. You can add some mint leaves, crush them and add them in. Just play around with it. So those would be some different drinks. And our whole family really enjoys it. And it's really neat to see, because when we were growing up, we would get, I think it was called Pick-a-Pop. And you could go to this place and you could get big bottles of pop. You could get a whole case of it. And we loved it as kids. And it was just terrible for us. And it was cheaper because it was like generic. It wasn't like Coca-Cola or whatever. But we really loved it. And it was probably just all chemicals and sugar. And now our families are having these sparkling waters. And when we get together, we just have cases of them. And they're assorted. You can get them at Costco. You can get them anywhere. But they taste really lovely. So they say they have no artificial flavor, no sugar, and they just have the essence of a certain type of fruit. Or if you just want to use the San Pellegrino and Perrier with fresh lemon or lime, that works really well too. I really like, that's a real classic. And then for after meals, because I don't have desserts ever, like I don't like desserts, they're way too sweet. And I'm satisfied from my meal. So I will have, in the wintertime, I'll have a tea, a herb tea. And there are so many nice teas. Back in the day, it was like chamomile and peppermint, but now there's a company called Tega, Tega, which is an organic tea, a herb tea line. So these are caffeine free. Why do we need caffeine free? Because the parasites, they become very active when we take in caffeine. So we become stimulated from caffeine, but so do the parasites. And we do not want to stimulate them. We don't want them to be more active. They cause more inflammation. They cause more symptoms. So we avoid even things that say caffeine, not caffeine free. No, decaffeinated. We avoid decaffeinated because it still contains some caffeine, but caffeine free is fine. So that Tega has Earl Grey, Tega. They have a lovely Earl Grey tea. There's, of course, peppermint is always one of my favorites, and there's spearmint. And there is what I really like before bed is by the company Celestial Seasoning Before Bed. It's called Sleepy Time, and it's a mixture of spearmint and chamomile and a bunch of other things. There is lemon ginger tea. There are different rooibos teas. Just make sure the tea that you drink does not taste sweet. So this is for people that have any type of autoimmune disease, MS or other, and that is caused always from these infections, and they thrive on carbohydrates and simple sugar. So we don't want to have anything that tastes sweet. And very often the sweeteners can be contaminated with sugar. The ones that they say, that are supposed to be sugar-free, but they still have sweetener, just avoid it. And when you avoid sugar or sweet taste, then your taste buds change. You become free from the addiction of sugar, and you really don't care if you ever have it, which is amazing. So it's not that you can't ever have like something really healthy, like fruit, for example. I have fruit, but I have it in moderation. I don't have tons and tons of it. Of course, in the summer when we have ripe peaches, and we live in an area with ripe peaches and apricots and cherries, so I'll have a little bit more fruit then, but generally I will have moderate amounts of fruit, even when I'm symptom free, because I know how important it is to keep our blood sugar level steady. We don't want it going up and down because that really is not good for our health. So there are lots and lots of great, of course, chamomile is a great favorite, lemon ginger, peppermint, rooibos teas. So there's lots of caffeine-free teas that taste great, that will not upset your stomach, that won't make you feel, because even decaffeinated coffee, it will have some caffeine in it, which, remember, these parasites, some of them are microscopic. They're very, very small. So they don't need a lot of sugar or caffeine to aggravate them or activate them. Let's go on to the appies. So the appies are basically foods that are not going to feed the infections again. And things that I really enjoy, so I don't use crackers. I don't even use nut crackers, because nut crackers are like if you make it out of almond flour, etc. And it's not that I can't ever eat one, but I have recovered from MS and I just love the way I feel. I like the way I eat, and your taste buds change and you just don't really want them anymore. So cucumber rounds are great, and you can get lots of cucumbers from Costco. You can get 3 in a bag in Canada, so wrapped in Saran wrap, etc. So they make a really great and the veggie platter. And back in the day we used to get veggie platters from Costco. They're really easy, but they're just not as nice quality. Sometimes you can go to specialty stores and they'll make up a much nicer one for you. But if you like the ones from Costco, use them. But it's great to have, for a large group of people, to have a big veggie platter, and that's always what I'm bringing. I tend to like to just buy the vegetables separate and cut them up and put them. It just tastes better. I can pick which vegetables. But if you're short on time, it's absolutely fine to just use a large veggie platter from wherever. So having the veggie platter, and of course those veggie platters come with dip, and we wouldn't eat that dip because who knows what's in it. Usually dairy, it could be sugar, etc. But what's nice, I will do this before the holidays, so not like on Christmas Eve, but before, maybe a day before, because the homemade mayo will last for at least a week or so in your fridge. But make a big batch of plain homemade mayonnaise, and there's lots of recipes online. And you can use, it depends what you like, but the extra virgin olive oil is the healthiest to use in it, but it is a little bit of a stronger flavor. You could do that half and half with avocado oil. It's not as strong flavor, but whatever oils you use an oil that is extra virgin and cold pressed and organic so that it doesn't have a lot of trans fats or fats that have been heated up and they are denatured and they're not good for us. So having that homemade mayo in the fridge, a big batch of it, because you can use it for a lot of things. You can make it a little bit runnier to have it for a dressing like a Caesar salad dressing, or you could have it a little thicker like a ranch dressing for vegetable. You can make a garden ranch dip for vegetables. And our students really love it. It tastes so good. You can make a spicy mayo, and we'll talk about different things we can use the spicy mayo for, but the spicy mayo is delicious. And we don't add the sweet chili sauce to it, but you can get the hot red chili sauce, and that doesn't have any sugar in it, and it's just like red peppers, and it's in a jar, and I'm sure you can find it in a local store. But the spicy mayo or just any kind of ranch dressing that you would make, you can make homemade chicken wings, and you can do salt and pepper. You can use different herbs. You can look for recipes. So what I like to do just to avoid boredom is I like to look for recipes. So I would look for chicken wings. Just do a Google search for chicken wings, but maybe healthy or paleo kind of thing so that you can kind of narrow it down to ones that you like, or salt and pepper chicken wings. And then once you get there, you'll find recipes that have, maybe 200, 300, 400 reviews that are 5 out of 5, or maybe it's 4.7, like a really high number of positive reviews. Then I will look at 2 or 3 of the recipes, and then I will see which ones that look the easiest to modify. So maybe I need to take cheese out, or maybe I need to, like even with almond milk, if you're recovering, I would just do water instead of almond milk. You're not going to notice flavor difference. So you just want to make the modifications. And when we're done here, what I'll do is in our Live Disease Free community, which is a Facebook page, I will post all of these different things, like a few recipes that I'm talking about. So there will be the chimichurri that I'll talk about, and the turkey breast recipe that I talk about, and then also our Live Disease Free blog, the healthy holiday meal ideas. So, and then I think that there is we might not have it, but there is a mayo recipe that our students use a lot. There's tons of mayo recipes, but this is just one that our students have used. So something that I like to put on the cucumber rounds is something that it's a tradition in our family. It might sound disgusting, but we love it. It's cod liver. So you can get them in little tins, kind of like the tins that you would find oysters in. And cod liver is very soft, and you would just put some on a cucumber round. It's usually in some type of olive oil, and then salt and pepper on it. Not maybe there's salt on it, but pepper for sure. And it tastes really good. So it's the fat and it's the meat that make you feel satisfied. But it's something that I grew up with. It's really high in vitamin D, vitamin A. So it's a really healthy thing, and it tastes delicious, especially with a little bit of salt and pepper on it. And of course, some of my other family members that are not sick, or they just haven't bought into, reversing it, they will just have crackers with it, but I'll have cucumber rounds. So we talked about the veggie platter. The veggie platter you can use, dip in whatever, whether it's spicy mayo or make a herb ranch dressing. Another thing that I love is smoked salmon. So you can find even in the grocery stores like Save On, I don't know, Overweighty, maybe it's called in the States. But smoked salmon, you have to read the back of the label to make sure there's no sugar in it, because very often they add sugar. So you can find smoked salmon that has no sugar. Again, you can put it on the cucumber rounds with a little bit of mayo. It's delicious. You can also use chicory root. So chicory root is like a little vegetable, and it's kind of oval shaped, and you can peel the leaves off, and the leaves can kind of serve as a little boat, like a container that you can put different appies in, whether it's smoked salmon. And of course, we're not having the cream cheese with it, but we can have the mayo with it. And so that would be really helpful, that we found to be awesome. Another thing that you might not want to do because it's a little bit finicky or more work smell is deep fried Brussels sprouts are really, really good. Just dip in spicy mayo, just really good. Be careful with Brussels sprouts though. If you have like 2 cups of Brussels sprouts, you'll be shocked at how many carbs are in that. But a few is absolutely fine. So that is very, very tasty. Again, you're going to use a heat stable oil if you do any deep frying, like avocado oil can handle heat. Olive oil should not be used at a very high heat because then it starts to smoke and you end up with trans fats. So it's absolutely fine to use avocado oil. Coconut oil also too, but not really for deep frying, but it is heat stable. Short ribs is another really great one. So we have a recipe, and yes, we'll have to work at getting the recipes out, but if you look for a short rib recipe, and it's literally a rub. So in Costco, they have these short ribs that are like, they're short, they're like that long, and they're just kind of wrapped in like the container, the plastic or styrofoam container. And what we do is we just put a rub on them. So it's just a mixture of, it's usually like, I'm just guessing, but it's things like paprika and chili powder and cumin and salt and pepper. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, sometimes garlic, etc. So you rub that on and you roast them in the oven for a few hours at low heat. And then at the end, you baste it with a little bit of lime juice that has, uh, it might have a little bit of oil in it, and lime juice and red pepper flakes. And they're just so good. So that's another really great one. And it's really a simple recipe. It's just literally mixing. So with our family, with where I'm at, is that I really stay away from these pre-mixed seasoning blends. So like Montreal steak spice, because usually they have MSG, they have maltodextrin, they have different ingredients that you won't feel well. And so when you just make your own blend, so we'll make our own the bone dust for chicken that we, whole chickens that we might do on the Traeger, or taco seasoning. We always make our own. It's really simple. You just find your recipe that you like, which for tacos, it would have, I'm just trying to think off the top of the head, it would have, of course, paprika and chili powder, and it would have maybe some garlic. Cumin is always, sometimes coriander, and then sometimes some of the other herbs like oregano, or depending on the recipe. So again, look online do a Google search and do all of this like now. Do this before the holidays. This is the planning ahead, and just make a list of a few different things like, oh, Pam said this, that would be good. I'll look for a recipe for that. It's really easy. Just make the modifications. We're avoiding sugar, we're avoiding dairy, we're avoiding, even if you're sick with chronic disease, even avoid almond milk. If it's like a quarter cup of almond milk, just use water. If it says vinegar, just use apple cider vinegar. Easy to modify things. If it says add a cup of wine, skip the wine. Just don't add it. I'll share a recipe, what I did, and it was a big hit with my family, and they don't have chronic disease. Prawns are delicious, like the big prawns, and if you dip them in spicy mayo, that's a really awesome appetizer. Some people like oysters. I don't, but some people do. Or what is it called? Escargot, that in garlic and butter. Absolutely. I mean, I used to like it, and probably the garlic and the butter would be great. Some people like lobster, etc. All of those things are fine. They're not going to feed the problem. Have some vegetables, have some healthy fat through the different sauces, the mayos, etc., and have some meat. And you'll be amazed at how well you feel. So again, with a homemade mayo, you can make some kind of a ranch or a herb ranch. The spicy mayo, you can make Caesar salad, where you're going to add in the anchovies, and you might use a little bit of capers, etc. So now let's go on to some meal ideas. So for flavor, we rely on herbs and spices. And what's really awesome is, and this is my son-in-law taught me this, he's an amazing chef, is that you use these, it looks like a ruler, but it's a grater. It's a really fine grater. And you grate lemon or lime zest, or even orange zest. And you can add that to salad dressings. You can sprinkle that on oven roasted vegetables. You can use it in your dips, and it will add this like extra amazing flavor. So it's the zest, it's the peel. Try to get organic if you can, so that you're not going to have a bunch of chemicals on the peel that you're getting, but it just really adds a lot of flavor. So the zest of lemon, lime, or orange is amazing. And then another thing that he taught me is when you use spices, let's say coriander, for example. So I would always just use powdered coriander, but he will have the seeds of the coriander, which you can buy in any grocery store or bulk store. And then he would use a mortar and pestle and so he bought me a mortar and pestle for either my birthday or Christmas one time. So he'll grind the seeds or he will not oven roast them, pan roast them a little bit and then grind them. So when you roast them, a lot of these seeds a little bit, it just adds extra flavor. So you're not burning them, but you're just kind of heating them up a little bit. And that adds flavor. And then when you grind the fennel or the coriander or any of these spices, the whole spice, it's a completely different flavor. You'll be just known as this amazing chef, and he's taught us so many cool tricks. And then there's a really great seasoning salt that I like, and it's called Herbamare. Herb, like herb, and then Amare. And so this is like a seasoning salt, but it just has sea salt and different like parsley and celery and different wonderful herbs. And it's very clean, and it adds body to whatever you're cooking, whether it's you're making a soup or a stew, whatever. So that's great. So now on to the meal ideas that I have. So we have a holiday, just as one post, holiday meal ideas that you could use. You could use some or all of the recipes there. So there is crispy prosciutto wrapped asparagus, which is awesome. And then there is oven roasted carrots with thyme. So when I do that, I don't eat a lot of the oven roasted carrots because I know that when carrots are cooked, they become high glycemic, meaning that your blood sugar will go up when you eat them quicker. And carrots are normally higher in natural sugar, so we eat them, but I would just have maybe a couple of slices of carrot. I'm not going to eat like a quarter of a plate of carrots because I know that that will make my blood sugar go up, and that is not really helpful for us, but I'll have a couple of them. But with thyme, the herb thyme, and oven roasted, it's amazing. And then other recipes on that blog post would be lemon ginger broccoli salad, and then smashed or creamy smashed, or it's pureed cauliflower. It's called creamy smashed cauliflower. Again, when our students are having this, they're not eating it all the time. They're not having piles and piles of pureed cauliflower, because you'll see that when you puree something, it's really condensing the carbs. But this is for a special occasion, and they'll have a small serving of it. They're not going to eat like 2 cups of it, right? Because that is going to push them over the edge. It's still going to be better than having mashed potatoes, but it still can add up to too much when we have chronic disease. And then oven roasted Brussels sprouts, which are great, and colorful kale salad. So those are all on our Live Disease Free holiday meal ideas. All the recipes are there. And I'm going to post that in the Live Disease Free community on Facebook. So if you're not part of that yet, you definitely want to join there, because I think it's under files. You'll see that there is a PDF where there are the guidelines for the Live Disease Free diet. And you'll be able to take that and there's a cheat sheet and then guidelines on the back. So it really helps you to understand the rationale. And this diet has helped. When our students start it, they notice huge improvements as they're decreasing the carbs. They find that their spasticity can improve a lot, their bladder improves a lot, their mood, they're sleeping better at night, pain can definitely decrease a lot, they have more strength. It's shocking when you decrease the food to these infections, how much symptom improvement you can have. So these meal ideas, these appetizers, these drinks I'm giving you are all things that would be in alignment with that, so that you don't sacrifice your health over the holidays. And then another thing that I just wanted to add, I'm just about done here, is that chimichurri. I've never heard of it before. My son-in-law, the chef, he introduced me to chimichurri. So like if you do grilled steaks, instead of having barbecue sauce on it, make a chimichurri. And basically it is a bunch of different herbs that are either chopped by yourself, or you can put them in a food processor. And don't make it into total puree, but just kind of chop them up. And it's in a base of oil and maybe a little something that's tart, whether it's lemon or whether it's apple cider vinegar. And it's so incredibly delicious. So one recipe that we have on our website, and again, I'll post that in the Live Disease Free community, and that is a bunch of flat leaf parsley and 5 cloves of garlic minced, 1/4 cup of cilantro, apple cider vinegar, lemon, and olive oil, and also dried oregano. So there's a lot of different variations depending on the country where the recipe comes from, but it adds so much flavor to steaks or to chicken. And then there's also pesto, right? Pesto is a really, we just had, so our local health food store, just because I'm pressed for time right now, and they have this beautiful, somebody's making it locally, pesto. And it doesn't have pine nuts. It has a little bit of sunflower seeds in it, but it's just basically and garlic and lots of basil, olive oil, and a little bit of sunflower seeds. So it's not a lot. And then I did zucchini noodles last night, and I just added a little bit. So I first did sauteed some onions and added the zucchini noodles. And then I added some pesto. And my granddaughter, who's 2 years old, and my other granddaughters, they're all 7 and under, they loved it. And they're eating zucchini and they absolutely love it. So, but again, I didn't have a plate full of zucchini noodles. I had a good serving of broccoli. I had a very modest amount of zucchini noodles, not even a cup. And then I had my meat, and then I also had a green salad. So when you learn this diet, you'll find that you want to eat this way because you feel so well. You have so much energy. It allows you to recover. You have to still treat also, and that's what we do with the Live Disease Free Academy, the Live Disease Free program. But it is the first step. It is the first step in recovery, is stop feeding those infections so much, because that really will make the treatments work a lot better. You still have to treat them in order to recover. The last thing I wanted to share with you is something that I just did recently, and I haven't done this before. So in Costco, about a month ago, they had these turkey breasts. Like, they were a turkey breast, and it was wrapped in that netting material. It's kind of like a rope type material. And I wasn't sure if you could put it in the oven or not, but I also didn't want, like, if there's chemicals in it, I didn't want it giving off in the meat. So I took that off, and then I followed this recipe. I found a recipe online, and I'm going to see if I can find it here for a second for you, because I forgot to get, and I'll post this again in the Live Disease Free community, but it is called, so I got that roast, the turkey breast roast, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with it? So I went on did a Google search for best turkey breast recipe. And then I found a couple, and I looked for which one has, and I may have also done like paleo or healthy. Like, I use that to kind of get closer to the recipes that will work for us. And then I found this amazing recipe called herb roasted turkey breast. It had 540 reviews, 5 out of 5. So it had a lot of reviews. So I looked at it. So then I go down, of course, like a lot of these recipes, there's like pages and pages of stuff. So what I did is there's a place where you can just jump to the recipe. So at the top by the title, jump to the recipe, takes you down to the recipe. And then I looked at the ingredients and didn't have to make much of a modification. So it asked for garlic, mustard, and rosemary leaves and sage leaves. And the cool thing was that I had just 2 weeks before, we have a freeze dryer, and the market gardens in our area, they were just shutting down. So I grabbed a whole bunch of herbs and I freeze dried rosemary and sage, and it was just amazing. So I used those in there. And so I used the rosemary, sage, thyme, kosher salt, pepper, olive oil, fresh squeezed lemon juice. So all of that was fine. It was like, yes. And then 1 cup of wine. So I skipped that. And I don't even think that I used any liquid. So you can decide whether you want to use a little bit of homemade chicken broth that has nothing in it, or whether you just want to. I think the key with the turkey breast is don't overcook it. So I was very, very careful to make sure to cook it just long enough. And because it was made by Costco and I couldn't push the herbs underneath the breast, the fat or the skin, I just basically laid it on top. And I baked it in the oven and took it out, and my whole family absolutely loved it. It had such amazing flavor. Again, it's just called herb roasted turkey breast. Really easy to cook. Just put all the herbs, and the lemon juice kind of made it a paste. And I can't remember if there was some oil in it or not. It might have just been the lemon juice that held all the herbs together, but it was really good. So be creative. Just have fun with it. It's really easy to eat this way. It's really easy. And it tastes, you can have such good flavor, but you just have to plan ahead a little bit. You're going to get to a place, especially when you start off, it feels awkward and it could feel like it's a little boring if you don't prepare enough. But once you get in the rhythm, and what I really recommend is to make a list of different recipes that you like, even if it's just a list of the name of the recipe, so that if it's time to go buy groceries, you can just pull out that list out and go, okay, well, we haven't had this for a while, we haven't had that for a while. Let's get the ingredients for that, have it in the house, and that way you're not bored. That way you have different, because we all love food. So just this past week, again, like I'm helping a lot. We've had a new baby in the family, and so we did pulled pork, and I did a different pulled chicken recipe, and I did a meatloaf recipe. So we have leftovers for pretty much the whole week. And then somebody brought cabbage rolls over. I skipped those because there's stuff in there but I'm eating the leftovers that I made. But all of that tastes so great. And I did the zucchini noodles last night. So there's so many wonderful things you can have that taste really well. And this gives you energy. It helps you to feel younger. You don't end up starting the new year like, oh my gosh, I've got to lose 10 pounds and I feel like I'm having a flare, right? We don't want a flare of our symptoms for sure. So I'm going to go to your questions. That's a good question, Melissa. I'll answer this here while I'm here right now. So are we feeding the infections when we eat high amounts of red meat? And so in the diet, in the Live Disease-Free diet, we're not eating high amounts of meat. So, and it doesn't matter what kind of meat you eat. If you eat lots of meat, so these poor young people that are doing this weight training and they're bulking up on, they're eating, so many chicken breasts and they're at all these protein drinks, etc. So when you're eating large amounts of protein, yes, you could have your blood sugar go up, but we're not doing that, right? We're just having enough so we feel satisfied. So for myself, like 3 to 4 ounces with a meal, 3 times a day, whether in the morning I have eggs and then so when I'm having the appies, I'm not just loading up on a bunch of meat. I'm having all those vegetables with it. And the healthy fats from all the different dips is really what satisfies you a lot. And then I'll have a little smoked salmon with it or a couple of chicken wings, etc. So you'll find that it's the fat that makes you satisfied, and the fat does not feed the infections. And if you're doing healthy fat, then it's fine. In your body, you're shifting your body to be more of a fat burner than a sugar burner. And that is very healthy. That's health promoting. I turned 60 this year, and I went to my doctor because I haven't been at it for a checkup for a long time, got my blood work done. And he's like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'm like, I'm having 2 eggs a day. I'm eating high fat, low carb. Keep doing it. Your blood work is perfect. So this does not cause, it's the type, number one, it's getting rid of the processed carbs, but it's also eating healthier fats. So I eat a lot of olive oil. I prefer olive oil even over coconut oil, or I'll have coconut oil or avocado oil, but olive oil is really healthy, especially when it's extra virgin, cold pressed, organic. But I will have and butter I'll have, and eggs. So it's the fat that gives you most of the calories. In this eating plan, we're getting at least half of our calories from healthy fats. And this is how endurance athletes, they perform better than they've ever performed, is by going high fat instead of high carb. So if you're eating moderate amounts of animal protein, your blood sugar will be absolutely fine, and it is not going to feed the infections. Does anyone fast on days? So fasting, if you know what you're doing, fasting can be intermittent fasting or any type of fasting, that, especially when you know what you're doing, it's fine. But when you're dealing with chronic disease and you have a parasitic infestation, then if you're just intermittent fasting, yeah, the infections will be a little bit more quiet while you're not eating. But then if you start to eat the wrong foods again, then they will be active. So during that same day when you start to eat. So instead of doing that, what we do, because we're getting ready to treat, is that we decrease the carbs throughout the day. So we're giving our body nutrition throughout the day, but we're not feeding the infections. We're keeping our blood sugar steady. So if you do an intermittent fast, it's very easy to just not eat for many hours, but then eat too many of the carbs and have your blood sugar go up, and then the infections are fed. So when you follow the Live Disease-Free diet, and this is to recover, and then we find a kind of we adapt that diet to our life. So if we're really high achievers and we're really busy, then we're probably going to keep the carbs a little lower, right? Like myself. And if you've had a history of chronic disease, you never want to go back there again. So it really is anti-aging. But if you are intermittent fasting, plus you're following the Live Disease-Free diet, you're not going to get enough calories and you will lose weight and you'll feel weak. So it's on this diet, you have to eat a lot to keep your weight on. So we wouldn't intermittent fast at the same time we're recovering. So the thing, what I know that intermittent fasting is popular right now, and you can do that. You just do what works for your body, but your body detoxes all the time. And in my mind, it's better to just give it nutrition throughout the day, keep your blood sugar steady, and eat the right foods. And then you don't have to intermittent fast. Your body is doing the house cleaning all the time. We just have to make sure we're regular, that we've managed our microbes, we get the bad ones down, get the good ones up. We're eating healthy, nutritious food. So that's what the Live Disease-Free diet. We're eating at least 3 times a day, keeping our weight on. It is for longevity. And once you're well, if you want to do a fast once in a while, go ahead and do that. But the intermittent fasting, I don't know, but doing a fast can be helpful, can be healthy for sure. It is popular right now, so we'll see. It is kind of a craze. I've been in the health industry for over 30 years, and there have been a lot of different things that have come and gone. You're very welcome. You're not having success with the intermittent fasting. It doesn't surprise me. Let me see. I'm not sure if you are the one that said about the intermittent fasting. I think you did, yes. So I personally, if you're following the intermittent fasting and you're not feeling well, then I personally wouldn't do that. It doesn't make any sense to me, because people are usually doing that because they have symptoms. And if they have symptoms, that means their microbiome is out of balance. And if their microbiome is out of balance, if they have too many of the disease-causing microbes, the intermittent fasting is not going to help that. It's just when you're not eating, you might feel a little better, because those infections will be more quiet, because your blood sugar is not going to be going up and down. This is much better. This is giving your body nutrition throughout the day, but keeping your blood sugar levels steady and not feeding the infections as much. So very satisfying. So hi, Safaria. Awesome. You're in Algeria. That's amazing. So what do you say regarding MS and infections? Makes so much sense. And what's really interesting is that Dr. Alan MacDonald has found filarial worms in the central nervous system of every MS patient that he studied that died, looking at their spinal fluid and their brains. And in developed countries, we would say, oh, well, those filarial worms, they cause river blindness. They're more of a, like in Africa, in different countries where they have parasites. It's like, no, we have parasites here. We have parasites everywhere. It's just we don't recognize it here. So it does make so much sense. You've cut the carbs down, you don't eat sugar, you consume a lot of vegetables, and you're feeling better already. That is so great. I'm so happy to hear that. Hi, Bonnie. Thank you so much for your wishes. And the same goes to you. Hope you have a wonderful holiday, Christmas holiday. So she drinks water, meat, veggies, potato on your plate, just one helping, and stop eating. And sorry, let's see here. I didn't get that. I drink water, meat, veggies. I would just be really careful with the potatoes, because the potatoes are high glycemic. They turn into sugar really quickly and make your blood sugar go up. Everything else is good though. Thank you. Sandra, hello. Hi, Robert. You're very welcome for all the tips. I hope you guys have a wonderful, hi, Michael. I haven't heard from you. Yes, it is a season for us. Christmas is the absolute best time of the year. And autumn, your body's ability to heal is greater than anyone has permitted you to believe. Absolutely. Those are great words of wisdom. We just have to support, and I share that in my training. If you haven't watched my training yet, make sure to watch it if you're at a place where you need to learn more about these infections and how to recover. But our body is a miracle. It is designed, it knows exactly how to operate. All we have to do is support it. We have to give it the nutrition it needs. We have to get rid of the toxins. We have to decrease the disease causing microbes that are causing our immune system to fight so terribly. And when we do that, we feel so much younger. So I hope that you can take some of these recipe and meal ideas and use them. Thank you. Merry Christmas, Michael, to you too. Hi, Callie. Um, Puffer. It's Callie Puffer. Oh, all right. Hi. Sorry, I thought you were talking about a puffer. That would be asthma, and that's just your last name, so you're not. Hi, John. Hi, Joanne. Not a lot of questions, just a lot of happy holidays. Hi, Michael. You're very welcome. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go. I really hope that you plan ahead. I hope you have an amazing holiday season. For us, it's Christmas, and it is the best time of the year for us. It's the birth of Jesus for us, but some of you have different beliefs, and we just want you to enjoy this time with your loved ones and get some good food in the house. Start to be an influence on other people. And if you're at that place where you've been following me for a while and you're like, Pam, you know what? I'm really ready to start the new year on a different note. I really would like to start to treat these infections and get my health and my life back. Watch my masterclass training. And if you are interested, if you want a step-by-step plan to treat these infections, diet isn't enough. We have to treat them. Then I can help you in the academy. So you'll have all the instructions. So watch the masterclass training and then reach out to me. You can become a wellness champion. You can start on this journey immediately. And if you're new to all of this and you've never like, wow, this infections, what are you talking about? Then watch my videos on YouTube, Live Disease Free. And there's a playlist and learn about the infections, learn about the diet, start to change your diet, just like some of these people that have just found me. And you will start to see that this works. But in order to get your life and your health back, you have to treat the infections. They won't get out of your body unless you treat them. So I hope you have an amazing holiday with your beautiful family, all your loved ones, and we will see you in the new year. Take care and bye-bye for now.